When working with negative exponents, we can rewrite a question that is written as x to the power of negative n to 1 over x to the power of n. In other words, if we have something like a 3 to the power of negative 4, we can rewrite this to 1 over 3 to the power of 4. So notice that by us doing that, we just remove the negative. So we're removing the negative by putting the number over 1. And now we can solve it. So we leave the 1 as is, and we say, okay, what is 3 to the power of 4? Well, 3 to the power of 4 is 81. And so our answer would be 1 over 81. Now, just a reminder that in our calculators, you should have something as x to the power of y. And this is used for exponents. So when we have a question like 3 to the power of 4, we would punch in 3. Then we would click on this button, which is x to the power of y, and then we would hit the 4. So 3 button 4, and you should end up with 81. And so this question would be 1 over 81. Okay, what if we had something like 4 to the power of negative 3? So again, the first step is we're going to rewrite our question so that we can get rid of the negative. So everything goes under 1. Okay, so we then have 4, and look, everything remains the same. Now we got 4 to the power of 3. Right here we had 4 to the power of negative 3. But by putting it all under 1, we got rid of that negative. Now we can solve. So what is 4 to the power of 3? Well, that is 64. And our 1 stays on top. So our answer is 1 over 64. Okay, I've got one more question here that's similar to those. What if we have 6 to the power of negative 2? So again, we're going to rewrite it by putting it all under 1. And this way we can actually remove the negative. So now that becomes a positive 2. So 6 to the power of 2 is 36. We leave the 1 where it is, and our answer is 1 over 36. Now we've been dealing with whole numbers to the power of negative number. But what happens when we have a fraction at the power of a negative exponent? Well, when we have a fraction, the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to flip these numbers so that the 4 goes at the top and the 3 goes at the bottom. So we're just gonna move the bottom to the top and the top of the bottom. So this would be then 4 and the 3. Notice it's the same thing, we're just flipping it around. And now we're gonna have this as a positive. So that's step number 1. We flip the fraction, but we leave the exponent, only that now you don't have the negative in front of it. Okay, now our rules of exponents is that the exponent has to be applied to both numbers. Whatever we do to the top, we do to the bottom. So this becomes 4 to the power of 3 and 3 to the power of 3. So when we punch that in, what do we get? 4 to the power of 3 is 64. And 3 to the power of 3 is 27. So our answer is 64 over 27. Okay, we've got another question here. So what if we got 2 over 3 to the power of negative 2? So again, step number 1 is we're going to flip our fractions so that the bottom's at the top and the top is at the bottom. And this will then remove the negative. Okay, so our exponent stays the same number, it's just no longer a negative. Now we have to apply it to both the top and the bottom. So our fraction becomes 3 to the power of 2 and 2 to the power of 2, which is 9 over 4. Okay, because 3 times 3 is 9, 2 times 2 is 4. Okay, we've got another question here. Just want to give us enough practice questions. Okay, so 3 over 10 to the power of negative 4. So step number 1, we flip our fractions so that the bottom's at the top and the top is at the bottom, but everything will be to the power of 4. Now we don't have the negative, but we need to apply this exponent to both the top and the bottom. So this becomes 10 to the power of 4 over 3 to the power of 4, which is 10,000 over 81. Okay, let's have one more question, but this time we're gonna have a variable in there. So what if we have something like 3 and x to the power of 5? Okay, so now this is using a little bit of both. So power of power, but also a negative exponent. So step number 1, nothing changes. We're going to flip these so that the bottom is at the top and the top is at the bottom. So this becomes x to the power of 5 over 3. That was step number 1 to get rid of the negative. Okay, so now we got to move the exponent to the top and to the bottom. Now we notice that we have an exponent here. And so when we have an exponent here in the power of power rule, which we have another video on, it says that we multiply the exponents to each other. So this becomes 20 because 5 times 4 is 20. Now this one doesn't have an exponent, although we've talked about not having an exponent is the same thing as having an exponent to the power of 1. Okay, so again, this 1 times the 4 is 4. So this becomes 3 to the power of 4. Okay, so now we can solve for that. That is x to the power of 20 over 81, because 3 to the power of 4 is 81.